Hello and welcome to The Arise interview, where we take time to reflect on the big stories from the news and on the fortunes and affairs of the world in an hour of conversation with commentators, analysts and thought leaders. I'm Charles Anyegolu. Coming up in the next 60 minutes, today we enjoy the best arts conversation and exclusive cultural companionship of Anthony Ofoegbu, an accomplished British actor of Irish Nigerian descent, popular in the UK theatre and film circuit, as he tells us about his life, his works and his career, which extends over a period of 3 decades and includes forays into Shakespearian theatre, British film, Nigerian stage drama, and a tiny little bit of Nollywood. The consummate British Irish Nigerian thespian, Anthony Ofoegbu, coming up. Now, my guest today is Anthony Ofoegbu, a British actor of Irish Nigerian descent who has come to be strongly associated with the best of British theatre, movies and television productions such as The Bill, Casualty and Spooks. Anthony is a member of the elite Royal Shakespeare Company and has been part of several performances at the Royal Shakespeare Theatre in Stratford-upon-Avon in the UK. Recently, he received great reviews for his role in the National Theatre production of Barber Shop Chronicles, which has been staged in the UK and across the US. He's also part of the BBC Radio Drama Company. And now his latest work, Conundrum, is set to be possibly the last British production in a major European cultural event before the UK closes its EU chapter, so a production that is literally on the cusp of history. Well, in a moment, we'll speak exclusively and extensively to Anthony Ofoegbu about his life, his work, and his career. But first, let's take a quick look at a short snippet of him starring in his latest work, the tenaciously inventive Conundrum.
I know who I am. I know who I am. I must be 10 times smarter than all the other children. I know who I am.
That looks enormously powerful, doesn't it? And the British Irish Nigerian actor and screenwriter Anthony Ofoegbu joins me now via WebEx from London. Anthony, or should I say Anto, as they call you in your father's village, thank you very much indeed for joining us. And your latest work that we're just looking at a snippet of there, Conundrum, is set to display a lot of tenacity, diversity, and inventiveness. It deals with the impact of immigration, I understand, and internal displacement of the human psyche. I mean, it sounds really interesting, especially given that it's become a hybrid of theatre and filmmaking. Tell us about that.
Well, that hybrid of theatre and filmmaking is what we now call, what we've coined as theatre. Hello, by the way, and thank you very much for such a wonderful introduction. It's just amazing. But yeah, Conundrum, we filmed it. It was a stage play, and we had an opportunity to stage it, and we started seeing the effects of what film could do and add to the spectacle. You know, so we've coined it as theatre vision. And that sort of allows the essence of what the actor is going through. If we can capture that at a certain point, we know that we can bridge the gap, you know, between what an audience sees through the television or through the camera, and can sort of have a real hands-on experience. That's what we hope, anyway.
And I suppose the reason for that was purely by chance, was it? Because of the lockdown, COVID-19, and all of that.
Absolutely, this came about purely by coincidence because of the pandemic and everything else. We were forced to close our show, which was going to be our debut show at the Young Vic Theatre in Waterloo in London, the prestigious Young Vic new writing theatre complex. And so then out of the blue, we got a call to do a commission for only half an hour, and we thought we'd readapt our play, and it was going to be streamed online, so therefore it was going to become visual. And so we set about trying to figure out how best to sort of portray a 90-minute play in 30 minutes on film. And the result is what you've seen now, and has just been entered into the Rijeka European Capital of Culture Festival for 2020. And as you said, it's the last vestige of UK theatre, I think, before the Brexit borders shut.
Well, I mean, for somebody like yourself who crosses boundaries in terms of the work you do, a lot of what you've done has been in Europe. I know you spent quite a bit of time in Eastern Europe, in Germany and all of that. I mean, how is Brexit likely to affect all that?
It's going to have its impact for sure. And, it's still up in turmoil. And nobody really knows, although I think there's going to be a lot more red tape for people in the theatre, actors, performers, traveling abroad to the rest of Europe. There's going to be a hell of a lot of red tape. And we just have to wait and see how much of it, really.
And of course, as you said just a hot second ago, the other thing that's had an impact, of course, I suppose in some ways it's moved your conundrum in perhaps a positive direction, which might get you a bigger audience. But I mean, this whole coronavirus thing, the lockdown extending and extending and extending. Are you a bit bleak about the future of the cinema and theatre?
I don't want to be. I certainly don't want to be. But I think, from my perspective, I'm still quite positive that we need the arts. Without the arts, we are non-entities, simply. So the arts has to flourish in some form or fashion, and hopefully the lockdown and Brexit won't affect it too much. If I sound doubtful, yes, of course, because we just don't know tomorrow. We don't know what's this force majeure that's upon us, and the political standpoint of the UK with its Brexit policies obviously will have an effect. I don't want to say a detrimental effect. I want to remain positive. Otherwise, what are we going to do? What are we going to do?
Well, absolutely. A lot of head scratching going on in the UK there. But just talking about lockdown, I mean, are you one of those people who during lockdown went and found books that you should have read but never read a long time ago? I mean, I was listening to Matthew McConaughey talking about the things that he did and the books that he scraped up.
I think anybody, who doesn't want to feel like they're, getting cabin fever, for being locked down or in, will find something to do, hopefully, with positive intent. And yes, so I've kept myself busy. Yes, reading books, watching a lot of films. That I'm catching up again on a lot of films, actually, which is what I found, which is great, because I don't possess a TV by choice, and I've not done so for about past decade or more, actually, about 12 years. So I was catching up on a lot of interesting movies because I have a great interest in cultural movies, other cultural movies, world cinema is what they call it, and yeah, so it was good to catch up on the artistry of certain directors and their vision for film content, what they were writing, making, filming.
I mean, stay with us, Anthony, because we want to do a bit of catching up ourselves. Let's take a look at another snippet of your new production, Conundrum.
The hypothalamus is a small part of the brain which plays an important role in the nervous system by controlling everything we do, such as eating, walking, and talking. Hypothalamus. Oesophagus. The oesophagus is a tube about 8 inches long and connects the pharynx to the stomach. The oesophagus is made of muscles which contracts to move food down to the stomach. This process is called peristalsis. Oesophagus. The pancreas. The pancreas is an abdominal organ located behind the stomach and is surrounded by other organs, such as the spleen, which is on the left side under the rib cage. Pancreas, hypothalamus, esophagus, pancreas, carotid canal. The carotid canal is the carotid canal is. I can't say it. The picture's gone in my head. Not again, Fidel. Hypothalamus, esophagus, pancreas, carotid canal. The carotid canal is.
A little bit of the trailer for Conundrum there. And Anthony, I mean, that just seems like a very intense production. I mean, how challenging was it preparing for the role?
Well, we worked on that for 5 weeks, and nothing can ever prepare you for, the live stage. I think I lost half my body weight that day. just executing the role, and due to some technical difficulty with the online streaming, it was direct. It was delayed by about 40 minutes, and I found myself staying in character prior to that opening that you've just seen, which was a great help, really, because I was full of nerves and wondering whether I'd get through this, because it was a one-off take. That there was no stopping or no retakes on that. It was a live stream, and so it was very nail biting, and I think we pulled it off.
Right. Well, I mean, I've got to say it looks very interesting, but stay with us, Anthony. We'll come straight back to you. You're watching the Arise interview. Plenty more still ahead as we continue our chat with the British Irish Nigerian actor and screenwriter Anthony Ofoegbu. Stay with us. Welcome back to the Arise interview. I'm Charles Onyegula. Now, my guest today is the British Irish Nigerian actor and writer Anthony Ofoegbu, whose work in the British theatre circuit and in traditional Shakespearian drama has stretched over a 30-year period. His latest performances and productions include Conundrum, possibly the last British production in a major European cultural event before the UK closes its EU chapter. He's also been in the National Theatre production of Barbershop Chronicles, which has been staged in the UK and across the US. And he's had a close collaboration over many years with the Nigerian Nobel laureate Wole Soyinka, as well as a rather hesitant, or perhaps I should say minuscule, relationship with Nollywood. He's also dabbled into screenplay writing, and this gritty British production known as Bad Day, which he co-wrote and starred in, is evidence of that. Take a brief look.
She's dead. They shot her. My daughter. Her name's Lynn.
Rebecca!
This is called a shit hitting the fan. Your no-show sleeper is now back on the radar. The body of her daughter was found about an hour ago at Rebecca Ryan's flat.
Who killed my little girl?
I want her found, Cruz. Now.
When I catch up with her, I'm gonna kick the living crap out of her!
Wrong door, dickhead. Do I look like I ordered a pizza?
You just made my day longer.
You hit like a girl.
Same different day.
Wow. And the British Irish Nigerian actor and writer Anthony Ofoegbu is still with me from London. Now that is a gritty movie, quite dark, but also just full of action. I mean, the sort of movies that I like to watch. And I mean, I didn't realize you were, Anthony, also a screenplay writer. You co-wrote Bad Day, wrote some of the scenes there, contributed to it. You know, very gritty production, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, and the film primarily was thought up by the director there, Ian David Diaz, and it was a colleague of mine when we set up a film company, the 712th Collective. Back in the day, you know, a bunch of us had gone to a BAFTA evening, and we went next door for a pizza or something. We decided, well, why don't we try and make films, you know, and get together, and, you know, so there was a consortium of about 25 of us. And I think after about 13 years, there was about 3 or 4 of us left, you know, but we'd made 2 or 3 films, one of which was Bad Day. And so, yes, I contributed to the writing of some of that, and 1 or 2 others. And the genre of the film was sort of like an homage to the 60s, 70s type cop movies, you know, which had certain elements of that you could see were of a particular style, you know, certain quotes, certain, you know, certain action pieces, and that. So, and yes, very gritty, very hardcore, to do with, like, you know, the gangs of London, you know, sort of like the underworld of London and that, and so yeah, it was fun, and it was fun making it. But of course, but a hard film, because we had very little money, and we used a particular type of camera, and I think we were one of the first to use something like a HD. I'm not so technical on that side of things, but our wonderful DOP, Alan Dunlop, managed to capture the film with that particular equipment. And yeah, so we had, yeah, and that's what we did.
Well, I mean, that was a few years ago, but it still looks very, very good, I have to say. And Anthony, for people in Nigeria and other parts of our global audience who may not be entirely familiar with your many works, a lot of them have been done in the UK and Europe and the US, just sum up for us your acting and writing career so far, briefly.
Well, I mean, so I sort of swapped my academia for the arts, you know, when I realized that that was what I seemed destined to do. A lot of people telling me that I was good, especially my late great choreographer and drama partner, Christine Cubberley, who I must mention. And if it wasn't for her, when I was at a college in North London called North London College, back in the 80s, yeah, I wouldn't be here talking to you today. Gave me a lot of confidence, a lot of understanding about my art, and I was allowed to express it. And so we formulated a dance drama company, or dance theatre company. And I think in the UK, there isn't really that genre, whereas in Germany, there is something called Tanztheater, dance theatre. And that's what we were doing. That's what we found ourselves doing in the 80s, throughout the 80s into the early 90s, was sort of like a dance theatre style. You know, we'd choreograph dramatic style, you know, dramatic scenes, so that they had dance element in it. And I suppose that really gave me the understanding of what physical theatre was all about. And so that lasted up until the early 90s, around 92, something like that. And then we disbanded because we had no more money. There was the Greater London Arts Council, GLAR, that used to give money funding. You know, we used to beg them quite often for money to survive and everything else. And when that all dried up, we dried up and went our merry ways and everything. And so I found myself knocking on doors for drama work, and got my first drama piece called Come On the Good Thing, I think, which was at a theatre pub In the UK, there's theatres above pubs, and there was one in Battersea, which I think is now called the 503 or the Latchmere. And that was my first foray into straight drama, straight dramatic play without dance or, physical movement in that respect. And that was it. And but I was able to retain, of course, the physical drama aspect, obviously, and put me into spaces and together with people like Stephen Burkoff, who has his own theatre style called Total Theatre, which is amalgamation of kabuki, Japanese kabuki, and Lecoq. I think he trained at Lecoq mime in Paris, and so his work was something that I could lend to quite easily, and we did his production of Oedipus, I think in 2013. First of all here, and then at the Spilletta Festival in South Carolina in the US. And that's very much physical theater, and I find that's what I like. And you can see that in Conundrum as well. We adopt all those disciplinary styles into one. We forge them together because we think that they also have their own language that adds to the drama and the verbal dialogue that's being said. And we find that very enriching, and we think that we can express ourselves in a variety of ways that reaches a lot more people. And that's our credo, really, for the theatre company that I belong to now, which is Crying in the Wilderness Productions, run by Paul Anthony Morris, who set it up in 2006. And I joined, I think about, hard to remember now, we've done so much, about 7 years ago. And we've not looked back. So our theatre company is now based at the Young Vic Theatre. We're an associate company to the Young Vic Theatre. And as I say, we were about to open in May, just gone, with our play Conundrum. And of course, COVID hit. So we found ourselves then filming it, and that's our latest piece of work. And I know I've kind of swayed off of, where I was going with the...
Okay, well, I'll tell you what, Anthony, that's a long, short summary of your career, but we'll come back and talk with you some more. So stay with us. You're watching the Arise interview. Plenty more still ahead as we continue our chat with the British Irish Nigerian actor and screenwriter Anthony Ofoegbu. Stay with us. Welcome back to the Arise interview, where we speak to the newsmakers as well as ordinary people doing extraordinary things around the world and featuring the voices at the heart of the stories. I'm Charles Aniegolu. Now, my guest today, the British Irish Nigerian actor and writer Anthony Ofoegbu, has become a known name in British theatre productions, but he says he didn't go looking for it, rather drama found him. Anthony was born in London's East End of Irish and Nigerian parents. While he was studying at a further education college in Hackney, he came across a dance class that he thought would help improve his street dance style and club status. The initial experience turned out to be physically painful. There was lots of stretching and resistance workouts, which proved to be, as he put it, unimaginably physiologically demanding. But he's stuck with it, and it was the start of a career that has flourished over several decades. We'll talk about his life and career in a moment, but first, here he is in 2012 in one of his very few forays into the Nollywood Nigerian movie industry.
Somewhere in the peaceful city of Calabar, deadly criminals are plotting to take over the streets.
Say the last friggin' prayers.
But what they didn't count on was these two jokers stopping them.
Who's your boss? What are your instructions?
Richard Dominique, Anthony Ofoegbu, Wale Ojo, Maynard Ezieshi, Kepia Benyong, Gordon Case, and introducing Lisa Kill and Vicky Christie.
Yeah, I think I'm ready to dip in.
Action, comedy, thriller, drama.
Remember that guy mentioned? I hear he's coming just on serious Cloud9.
Streets of Calabar.
And the British Irish Nigerian actor and writer Anthony Ofoegbu is still with me from London. Thanks for staying with us, Anthony. We're going to talk a little bit about your foray into Nollywood in a moment. But I mean, you've done considerable work with the Nigerian Nobel laureate Wole Soyinka. I mean, you were the lead in his international play, The Beatification of Area Boy, and you also performed in another Wole Soyinka play called Death and the King's Horseman, directed by, I think, Rufus Norris. And I understand you've worked with Professor Soyinka in America, Australia, West Africa, South Africa, Greece, Switzerland, Germany, and the UK. So quite a long-term professional relationship there.
I feel very privileged to have to know Prof, you know, and other people associated with him, people like the late Uncle Wale Ogunyemi, Uncle Tunji Oyelano, and many others over a period of time, and have traveled the world with him, and it's quite an really exceptional experience to know such a great man, a really great inspiration for living and life. And of course, his works were always about, I'll never forget, you know, holding up a mirror to Nigeria specifically and saying, have a look at yourself, you know. And that's what his works have always been about. And his, you know, his philosophy, you know, has been very sound and has been absolutely extolled around the world. You know, I've had the privilege to see him, you know, take forums and to ask questions and to answer questions in a way that nobody else really can. I mean, an incredible mind, and his works are very equally incredible, very deep, very spiritual, existential, necessarily, and you know, and absolutely lauded, and rightly so, yeah.
Well, I mean, having done all that you've done, Anthony, I mean, you performed alongside leading British actors like, you know, Ray Winstone, and of course African top-line writers and drama, you know, producers such as Wole Soyinka. I mean, I wonder why you haven't ventured much more into the Nollywood spectrum, or is that not your cup of tea?
Oh no, absolutely. On the contrary, it's because I'm based here and I have, you know, commitments here and everything else. You know, most of my family are here, and you know, when I do manage to get home, you know. And of course, a few times I have been, you know, I've managed to embark upon the Nollywood scene to a certain degree through wonderful people who I need not mention, and so those opportunities come. And so it's more or less, you know, when the opportunity is right, you know, when the opportunity is right. It's not for want of trying, but I think there's been I mean, as I say, the opportunities are opening, you know, are open every day, and we see, you know, so I think I've made about three Nollywood movies, and of course it takes a time for them to start, you know, for recognition to start coming, etc. So yeah, I look forward to doing some more. Of course I look forward to doing some more, as and when the time, you know, it's not always up to me. I can't, you know, go and say, give me a film. Or maybe I can, give me a film.
Well, I mean, I have to say that we certainly hope that we see more of you. I mean, you're a great acting talent and would love to see more of you on the home front, as they say. But as a reference point, Anthony, I mean, you're British, but your mother is Irish and your father was Nigerian from Imo State. Is that right?
Yes, from Imo State, from Owerri, and my mother is a wonderful Waterford lass, you know, and they met here in Liverpool and married in Birkenhead back in the 50s, 60s, and we came about, and yeah, so that's my makeup, Afro-Celtic, something. Afro-Celtic makeup.
Good
Irish
enough for
Nigerian.
us. And of course, London, where you live, as they say, is little Lagos, isn't it? I mean, so you're able to meet lots of Nigerians there, lots of Nigerian restaurants around, etc. So Nigeria really is in London, and it wouldn't be difficult for you, if you had to play a Nigerian character, to be able to do that immersively in London.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, you know, just like the Bollywood filmmakers, they use you know, locations all over the world, and just like the young Nigerians now, and hats off to Nigerian filmmakers. I mean, talk about the audaciousness to make film any which way. I mean, you know, we've come a long way, really. You know, the quality is starting to really make its impact, and rightly so. You know, after years of trying. And I think that's wonderful. I have two immediate neighbors who are Igbo, and I mean, I can walk up the road and buy some chop, you know what I mean, which I'm very happy to do. You know, we have outlets now that, you know, we don't exactly call them mama put, but you know, we know where to get, you know, proper, you know, good food, and readily available, and the ingredients primarily available here, which is wonderful. So, you know, home from home, those diasporans can still, you know, have a little bit of Nigeria wherever they are, which is great.
Yeah, I mean, I have to say that's one of the things I like about London. An extraordinarily eclectic city that you can get literally everything from every part of the world. But let's move back to your sort of career. Why has it worked for you, or appeared to work for you, more in theatre than in film, when presumably you can do both very well?
For me, film, theatre is really the foundation of acting, if I may put it like that. You know, I enjoy theatre, and I found myself, I don't know whether consciously or subconsciously, I've you know, theatre seems to be the mainstay for me. But then I found myself in all different pockets of the arts. You know, I mean, I was for a year on BBC Radio Drama, part of the BBC Radio Drama Company, you know, doing voice, because, you know, I grew up in a house where, you know, I have, you know, my mother talks like that, you know, and my father is talking like this, you know, so, you know, it's said that I have a good ear for accents, and that's what you need when doing voice work. And so I ended up working, becoming part of the radio drama company, the BBC RDC, the radio drama company of the BBC, for a year, and that was a fantastic experience. And so voice work and theatre work just always seemed to come around the corner, you know, rather than film work. And I don't know, again, as I said, whether subconsciously or consciously, I chased or I didn't chase it. You know, what my agents would put me up for, and things like that. But then I ended up, of course, as I said, you know, creating, being a founding member of a film company, and making our own films. And I think there's something to be said for where in pretty much you can sort of describe a certain structural inequality in the UK, where you find yourself, well, if nobody will do it for you, you have to try and do it for yourself. And I think I'm sort of inclined to want to do that, you know, and formulate, you know, very much something that I want to do. I mean, people say, you know, the best job in the world is to do something that you love and then get paid for it. You know, it doesn't always work out like that. But I think also it's about following your dream. And is it a dream in the first place? I mean, yes, I suppose it has to be, you know, but you want to sort of move in a way that you feel comfortable with. And I suppose that I presume it has to be to do with that, really, you know. But in saying that, I've had the incredible opportunity of meeting people like Prof. Shoenka, you know, and working with incredible actors who live here in the United Kingdom. Amechi Ezenagu, Susan Adering, and the late Yomi Ayodele Michaels. who starred in Prof. Shoyinka's play King Babu with Susan Adering and many others here. So you know, we try to forge our own destiny really when it's not presented to us. Yeah, I don't know what else to say about that really. But and then, as I said, the opportunity of film has come along in bits and television in bits.
Right.
And,
okay. Well,
and
let me just leap in there because we've got about a minute and a half before we have to take another break. But I mean, just very briefly, Anthony, because we've got to take a break. What would you say are some of your best roles in theatre and film? I mean, I have to say I loved your understudy of Julius Caesar at the Royal Shakespeare Company, but also in terms of film, your performance in Moonfleet and Bad Day, of course, absolutely outstanding stuff. And we've got a minute before we take a break.
Well, for film, yeah, I mean, all those Bad Day, we created that, we wrote that. So, you know, again, I have to say that was a good role to play. And all the ones that I've done, really. In theatre, I was nominated in 2015 for an Offie Award for Best Actor for My Children, My Africa, which hadn't been done for 25 years in the UK by Athol Fugard. And we ended up in the West End after doing a fringe theatre production of that. And months later, we were in the West End, you know, doing a you know, fully fledged, you know, recognized show that won plaudits. Well, was you know, everybody was nominated in the play. It was a three-hander. Everybody was nominated, and I suffered most. And I think if I those that I suffered most, that I think I must have put some serious work into. So I sort of relish those really in some bizarre way.
Okay, well, stay with us, Anthony. We've got to take a break. You're watching The Arise interview. Plenty more still ahead as we continue our chat with the British Irish Nigerian actor and writer Anthony Ofoegbu. Stay with us. Welcome back to The Arise interview. I'm Charles Aniagolu. My guest today is the British Irish Nigerian actor Anthony Ofoegbu, who's become a recognized top-level performer in Britain's theatre circuit. The reviews of his performance in the acclaimed Barbershop Chronicles have been brilliant. Here are just a few of them from the British press. Anthony Ofoegbu is shatteringly good. A masterful performance by Ofoegbu. Anthony Ofoegbu powerfully portrays the teacher. Mr. M is played with Shakespearian grandeur by Anthony Ofoegbu. Those kinds of reviews don't come easy, especially from critics who can be tough in their assessment of theatrical performances in the UK. From Titus Andronicus to Antony and Cleopatra, Anthony Ofoegbu's been there with the best of them in the Royal Shakespeare Company. He's also been starring in television period dramas, such as this children's classic known as Moonfleet. Take a look.
Mahone has his spies everywhere.
What about that trench-eyed boy? Always asking his questions.
There's no spy. You saw him drag through the street.
I'll slit a smile in that boy's throat.
The boy's a brave boy, no friend of Mahone's. He lives until I say he doesn't, you understand?
Quiet! Listen.
What is it? Elsevier, some of the boys have been talking. What with Davy's death and all. Nobody would blame you if you
If you're
wanted
no
to...
longer up for it, we'll find a man who is.
You ungrateful dog!
That's a snippet of Moonfleet, and there's a particular clip there I wanted to see where Anthony pulls out a gun, but sadly that was clipped out. But the British Irish Nigerian actor who you saw there, Anthony Ofoegbu, is still with me from London. Thank you for staying with us, Anthony. And in terms of television, you've done British staples such as The Bill, Casualty and Spooks. I mean, those are arguably some of the most popular series on British television, so not bad going there.
Again, fortune had me dabble in those particular pieces, you know, and going back to Moonfleet for a second, it was lovely to do film Moonfleet because it was shot in Ireland, and of course I was able to see, you know, my Irish family, and they were very happy to see me there. So it was great. So I feel proud that I've done plays and film in both my parents' countries of origin. You know, yeah, very proud. But yeah, the TV, yeah, they've been staple diet TV, you know, those particular ones. So yeah, it's been again a good thing.
And I mean, I have to ask you this. Is there anything that happened in the course of your career to make you want to come close to or consider quitting your acting dream?
Oh, so, look, you know, we're human beings, all of us, you know, and sometimes the pressure can pile up. You know, I have other artistic things that I like doing, you know. So, and sometimes I consider that because, you know, there's been a while where I don't think any actor has not gone through, you know, waking up in the middle of the night wondering how you're going to pay the rent, you know. And then all of a sudden, you know, a divine hand comes in and says, right, you've got this on board, and you know, and we move on and live for another day. Because I've managed to, I think, explore a lot of these areas of the arts, you know, there's so much there's so many avenues to go down at any given time now. And so it's nice, and just to just have those creative arms, you know, avenues to explore still. So it's never really, you know, it's become more and more exciting, really, as one has grown older, you know, because you've gone through those experiences, and so you know what potential outcomes there are to be had, you know, and so you can look at them with a more a better eye, you know, and see what you can make of it, you know. And if that's not happening at that point in time, then you're looking at another avenue, maybe, you know, or you're thinking to maybe write something, or to, you know, pen something, or you know, or join forces with somebody else to create something. But it's all about the creativity. It's all about having the creative essence, you know, and keeping that bubbling. And that's never boring. That's never boring at all.
Well, absolutely. But I mean, I suppose you could say that you've definitely got more than your toe in the door now. I mean, you've got your leg in the door, if not your whole body. But I mean, you've been quoted as saying that drama found you and that you didn't go looking for it. And I read somewhere that you wrote that practically everything you touched while at school at a Catholic comprehensive in Hackney in London had failed. I mean, that's a pretty brutal assessment of yourself, isn't it?
You know, you can only look back in retrospect and realize the failures of the system here, you know, primarily for people of color. And I don't say that lightly, you know. We're dealing still with the element of racism and inequalities, really, you know, and structural inequalities. And you don't realize how much those structural inequalities, you don't understand them when you're a child, you know, when you're young. But when you look back and you realize that's probably why I couldn't do that. That's why that didn't happen for me. That's why those doors weren't open for me, you know. And we found ourselves really, I suppose so, I'm of that school of, right, you want something done, do it for yourself, you know. Don't rely on I don't know, you know, others or the system. And so, yeah, so in terms of, you know, of course, with a Nigerian father, you have to be doctor, lawyer, solicitor, you know, like my father, who was in the medical profession. You know, I think he wanted me to follow him in that genre. But I went to further education college, and of course I was a teenager, you know, we're striking out, independence, you know, and I was clubbing it a lot, and I thought, wow, you know, if I could improve my dance moves, I might be able to you know, make some, you know, attract certain, you know, influences. And I saw on the wall that there were dance classes happening in the evening at the college, and I went along to one, and I found myself literally on the floor, stretching every which way but loose, and wondering what the hell was going on. I thought, this wasn't what I signed up to. And a couple of weeks later, the woman, the teacher, who who is Christine Coverley, who I was with for 10 years, partnering, said, "But you're good. I want you to join my dance group, my dance drama group." And so it was her influence really that said, I could do something, because there was a lot of times when you felt like you're not made to feel like you could do anything really, so that's where it all started for me. So that's why I say, it found me. I didn't go looking for it really in that respect. But after 30 years and having traveled around the world and met some incredible individuals, I think this was what it was meant to be. I mean, they say people, finding your true vocation, of course, is essential. I can't see this not being, although I do, as I said, I do have many artistic interests. I've had a camera in my hand for 30 years. I've done paintings. I used to paint murals for the Notting Hill Carnival, and then sought out a bursary to go to Trinidad and really research the real Trinidad Carnival, because all that comes from mass, what they call mass, playing mass, and mass is masquerade, and that comes back to Africa, to our origins and everything else. So there's an incredible, and of course we have the famous Notting Hill Carnival over here. So
well, I have to say, Anthony, I mean, it's lovely that you've had that career, and I'm glad you ventured into that class at school, because I think the theatre world is the better for it. I want to thank you very much indeed for joining us over the last hour. Anthony Ofoegbu, the British Irish Nigerian actor, talking to me from London. That's it for this edition of the Arise interview. Join us again tomorrow. From me and the entire team here in Abuja and London, bye-bye, and thank you for watching.